Right, ladies and gentlemen, they're in my bag. Hector has some. Please take a seat. So, I'm delighted to present to you today job.com. My name is Arran Stewart. I'm one of the co-owners of the business. You may or may not have heard of us. We are one of the largest job boards in the US. We've got 60 million registered job seekers with us. We've been around for some time. But now we're going to adopt blockchain to completely revolutionize the way people get hired. Our mission is to decentralize the recruitment industry, bring privacy, gamification, and reward to the candidate, and create peer-to-peer hiring. We have the goal to place 1 million of the 60 million people that use us into work through this platform. Now, to give a bit of background about me, I would like to say that I am a disruptor. I have a track record for it, a very good one, but I started very humbly. And the first thing I ever disrupted was myself. And what I mean by that is 15 years ago, I was in London, laying street curbs and filling in potholes with tarmac. Yes, my upbringing and working class background had brought me to that career option. And I made the decision to think outside the box because I thought, I think I could do something else. And so I got involved in technology and recruitment. And over the years, I've been part of some very successful groups, one being a private equity group purely in recruitment space that I chaired with 500 million turnover and 110 million pounds exit. And then I got into the space of really disrupting the online recruitment market. 7 years ago, which is an eternity in the technology space, I decided that matching was going to replace search. And what I mean by that is the average job seeker 7 years ago would spend 7 hours a week online looking for work and would register with 21 separate employment sites to get a job. It's crazy. 21 separate logins, 21 separate user interfaces, technology capabilities, etc., etc. So, very disruptively, we created a matching system that aggregated all of the job content, read your resume, and delivered you the best jobs in your inbox instantly and every day. And it was a huge success in the United Kingdom, so much so that we decided to move to the United States. And in our journey to the US, last year we did 3 acquisitions, and one of them was job.com. Job.com has been around for 20 years, but now I own it. Now I own it, and we are bringing our very clever matching technology plus blockchain to completely revolutionize a 638 billion a year industry globally, and 150 billion of it is spent right here. So I want you to cast your minds back. Do you remember a fax machine? I do. It's how recruitment started. And it was a very humble and crude way of sending candidates to a hirer to say, hey, I've got the guy that you need or the girl that you need to hire. And it was cool because it was just information being sent this way, which meant that there was no data issues. It wasn't easy to just suddenly pull someone's information off the internet and download it, spider it. And it was pretty secure, actually, in some respects, other than maybe someone picking up at the wrong end of the hirer side. But then we moved on. And 2.0, which realistically is what we see today, which is job boards like your Monsters and Indeeds of the world. Then you've got behind the scenes, which you may or may not know, applicant tracking systems and talent management systems like Taleo that's owned by Oracle. And I guarantee if any of you have ever gone through the hiring process, you will have definitely dealt with some of them because it's impossible not to. But the problem that we have with that is the information is so easily shared, it's so easily abused, and it's so easily sold illegally that sadly there's been an epidemic of data abuse in the industry. For example, look at the case in question. I'm a recruitment agency. I'm representing a company. I put a job on Monster. I receive an application. By the sheer principle of what I have to do, when you send me your application, what do I have to do? Share it with a third party, the company. So if I'm allowed to share it with them, am I allowed to share it with other people? Recruiters think they can, but actually, they share it with people that aren't employers. They buffer stock the databases, And they'll share it with everyone from credit reference agencies to debt collectors if you owe money, including your address. And that's not a lie. I sat as the chairman of a 500 million a year turnover recruitment group. It's true. But allow me to welcome Job.com 3.0 for the recruitment industry and for online recruitment. We're going to remove the recruitment agency out of the process with smart contracts and the ability to allow peer-to-peer, which is candidate dealing directly with client. We'll introduce real privacy, which means when you register with Job.com, your details will never be able to be searched. They'll never be shared. They'll only ever be used for matching against the most relevant roles for you. And when you choose to apply, they're then sent directly to the hirer, not a third-party recruitment agency that may choose to sell it to someone you wish not to have it. We're going to create gamification because that's what everybody wants these days. They know have become so much more savvy that they want to have a little bit more out of their experience online. So we're going to give the candidate more, allowing them to earn revenue out of their network. And finally, we're going to reward the candidate for doing what we class as most of the work within the recruitment process. A nice picture of numbers. So as I already explained, over 600 billion a year. Now, the average fee in the United States is about 20% for recruitment. So if you've got a $100,000 a year candidate you're looking to hire, you give it to a recruiter, it's going to cost you about $20,000. And 15 million of these placements are being made every year. Imagine, and this is the bit that maybe resonate with all of you. If you went to a client pitch and you sold what you had as a product, which was yourself, and they bought into it, they bought into the background, they bought into what it had, they bought into everything, they bought into you, and they agreed to do a deal, and then somebody else made the commission, it just wouldn't make any sense, would it? That's what recruitment is. You're the candidate, you're the person with the qualifications, the experience, you're the one that aces the interview, yet a third party's making the money when you get hired. Why? Because I could do it myself. So we're going to change all of that. And blockchain technology and with harmonized with our matching will allow the shortlist to go further. So matching technology has been around long enough now to allow people to generate a decent enough shortlist. 17,000 recruitment agencies in the USA are doing it every day and making $150 billion out of it. If they can do it, you can give it to the end hirer. So that's fine. We know matching works. So the next part is the contractual relationship that goes on after that, which comes down to your employment contract, start date, salary, probation. All of those things can be kept on a recorded ledger now, meaning complete peer-to-peer and no need for a recruitment agency anymore. The gamification side of things, how many of you joined LinkedIn and built their massive database to which they now sold themselves to Microsoft for $26 billion? How many of you did that for them and how much money did you get for it? Obviously. So why? They couldn't do anything without you. You are everything to them. But sadly, it was the dawn of the age where we felt like we needed them, rather than actually reality is it's the other way around. Well, for us, we're not going to do that. We're going to allow the candidate, if they choose to share the platform with their friends and colleagues, they're going to earn money every time they sign up and every time they get placed into work, just as a bonus for instant gratification. So, if I remind you, average fee in the United States is 20% for recruitment. Well, we're going to allow a company now to come directly to us. They can put their jobs on, advertise them. We'll attract the candidates they need. They can use our very sophisticated matching technology to shortlist. They can then interview and hire for the full probation for their candidate, which maybe is 90 days, could be more, without paying a single dollar until the candidate passes probation. Meaning, I definitely want to keep this person. And instead of 20%, they're going to pay 6% to us, which represents a 70% saving. But that isn't the most exciting bit. We're all about the candidate. And if I remind you, we said that candidate does most of the work. They're the one that goes there and sells it. They're responsible for really facilitating this deal. It's only right that they get 80% of the 6% we charge, resulting in a 5% salary signing bonus for every single person that gets placed through the Job.com platform. So instead, Same behavior, imagine. I go to Monster, I get a job. I go to LinkedIn, I get a job. I go to Indeed, I get a job. I get 0. I go to job.com and do the exact same behavior. I get a 5% salary signing bonus. We've got 60 million registered users in the United States. Can you imagine how many of them are going to take this up? Lots. But we just want to convert 1 million of them. The token economics, it's very simple, really. We are a utility token. The client will pay their fee, which is converted into tokens, and the signing bonus is paid to the candidate in tokens to finalize and facilitate the smart contract. There will be a limited supply of utility tokens, and there is a huge recruitment industry to make that happen in. Our token raise, we're going to use the money from our utility token raise to genuinely change the way that people get hired. We're going to empower the candidate. We're going to save the client loads of money. We're going to shorten the time to hire, meaning that you get bums in seats quicker, which is every hiring manager's goal. And we're going to reinvent a 600+ billion a year recruitment industry. Our mission is to continue to have a life partner product. And what I mean by this is, how many of you have used apps or sites to find a job, and then when you do, you stop using them? Don't be shy. Exactly, you stop. Why? If I told you there was a job nearer to home paying more money, wouldn't you want to know about it? Yeah. Well then, if you take yourself off these things, how do you know? We want you to turn this into another part of the real estate on your phone, just like WhatsApp is, Telegram, and your banking. Your career is everything. And having eyes and ears for free that can potentially earn you a 5% salary signing bonus and makes you money out of your contact list should have permanent place on your phone and your desktop. Thank you ever so much for your time, and I would love your questions. Go on, clap. Go on, yeah. Thank you very much. Please say, yeah. How do you let me pass it, because last time we couldn't hear the questions, and they're very important, so I'm going to get my lovely colleague here.
So what are you, how does that, how is it a game changer, and how is DICE and all these monsters, how are you disrupting them, or, I'm just curious.
So, it's a game changer because Monster is effectively Auto Trader for jobs, okay? It's just a marketing media. They will not guarantee you your hire. So when you spend your hundreds, if not thousands of dollars with them, if you do not place someone, tough, money's gone. We don't charge you a single penny until the person gets past their probation, which, trust me, for many SMB businesses is the difference between survival and not survival, because I suddenly have to pay a fee and I didn't hire someone, or if I do a normal contingency-based recruitment, I still have to pay a ratcheted fee and the person might leave. With us, we offset all the risk and we reduce the cost by 70%. And the real game changer is, how many sites have you used to find a job that give you 80% of the fee they made by you getting the job? No one. No one is doing this, and I can guarantee you that nobody is doing this. We do, because we're recruitment experts. That's what we do best. The blockchain side of things, it's a smart contract, and we're into tech. Not quite as technical as everybody here, but we're mainstream. We're a real big business. We've got offices all over the world, and we totally understand recruitment. This is going to completely change the way recruitment works.
Hi, Arran. I run a software product and consulting company, and one of the things as a hirer I always see is kind of, incorrect resumes, or to be blatant fake resumes, and that's one of the top concerns as a hiring company, that 5 out of 7 are going to be totally unknown people coming from Monster, DICE, and all those. Are you doing anything for that? Second part of the question, very separate, is what are you doing if you're doing anything for non-permanent placements, like contracting jobs, hourly paid but still very high priced jobs? So 2 questions.
Great question. So the answer to the first question, which I'm really excited to answer for you, is we have partnered with another ICO-based blockchain business called Endorse. And Endorse uses blockchain to verify all of your qualifications, skill sets. They run all of relevant tests to make sure that you have the IT capabilities that you may or may not have in the various languages you may program in, et cetera, et cetera. That is built into the platform because you couldn't be more right. One of the biggest problems in recruitment is people lie. They genuinely do. Most resumes have some sort of a lie in it, unfortunately, because people are trying to sell themselves. And so we are already catering for that, and we have that built in, because one of the biggest costs in recruitment isn't actually the physical recruitment cost. It's the failure of candidates when they get in the business and then leave because it turns out they weren't the person that the company thought they were, or they're not the right fit. Second question. Sorry, if you repeat it again, what was the second question? Screening mechanism already done, and the business that we're working with that do it have already done their ICO, so they're pretty much down the way with that. And the second question? Oh, so temps. So in the first instance, our focus is in permanent recruitment. Okay, so the contractual and temporary market, which has a slightly different dynamic, and especially the way it works with payroll and stuff like that. We will one day do it, but just one step at a time. Get this perfected, and then we'll take it to the next one. Go on, you do that.
Our last presenter was about healthcare.
Yes. Yeah.
Having their own personal portfolio through which smart contracts people can, through permissions and other ways, come and get your information. I've always sort of thought that's the way blockchain would work for the job search market. In other words, individuals each having their own portfolio which they give permission. Do you think that's coming, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's definitely coming. Yeah, there's not a doubt about it. But what you've got to try and do, and what we need to understand here, is we've got a room full of innovators right now, and so all of us completely understand this market. That's why we've spent the money and time to come here. When you try and introduce a new way of thinking to the masses, when we start pushing this to our 60 million users, it's gentle. But you're completely right. Everything from references to client feedback on their history, a whole recorded ledger, effectively like your health, just for your career, will become part and play of this system, and it is in the roadmap. But you have to gently ease these people in, because people get scared of technology. You know, you get scared of change. You just think, whoa, what do you mean you're going to record everything about me? You know, we're already quite private creatures, even though everything is already being recorded about you right now. Just the US government definitely are. But that's fine. But you have to ease people in gently, but you are completely right. Go on.
So you were talking about the job interview.
Yes.
All what's paid to the employer and pays to the candidate?
Good question. So the employer pays us in fiat, and it's converted, and the candidate receives their reward in token. The token will be able to be exchanged either back to us or other exchanges. So if they wish to take it out as cash, they can. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Any other questions? Go on, sir. So, great question. So, are we doing it just internally with our existing user base, or are we planning to grow the user base? So let's take a look at Office of Labour and National Statistics quickly. In the US, 60 million people move work every year, okay? And this business is not unique to anywhere else in the world. It's replicatable in Europe, Africa, Asia, and we are doing that. So we have global office presences already. And the plan is, at the moment, we've got 60 million users just in the US. We've got about 7.2 in the UK. And we're organising partnerships now, because we've just opened a Singapore office to cover Asia. So we will be growing this out to the world, because typically recruitment's pretty similar, same and similar most ways around the world. And the largest agencies like your Adecos and Randstads of the world operate in pretty much most countries, making billions of dollars. So we're going to go and do the same with job.com. And we feel it's a very simple proposition. MJ, please, sir. Okay, so great question. So if we convert, so average salary in the United States is $52,000 a year. As you know, our fee is 6%, which means the average fee that we charge is $3,120, of which we give 83% to the candidate, which means $2,600 would go to that successful hire, and we would retain $520. If we convert 1.6% of our database, 60 million, which is 1 million people, 1 million times 3,120 years, 3 billion, 3.1 billion. And our gross margin will be 520 million. So if 98.4% of our database turn around and say, no, we don't want to do it, and 1.6% say they do, we do 3 billion in revenue off the back of this business. So it's lucrative. Go on at the back and we'll come forward. We'll come. So oh, I'm so glad you asked that question. Great question. So Monster and Indeed are owned by, so Monster is owned by Randstad, largest recruitment company in the world, bought for 429 million last year. If Randstad decide to compete with this product, they will have to slash their fees by 70%. They can't do it. Indeed was bought by the largest independent Japanese recruitment company called Recruit for $1.2 billion in 2012. They cannot do this either because they would have to slash their recruitment costs by 70% because this is a price war. We are price sensitive in recruitment. How do we protect it? Do you know what my real goal is? And I'll be brutally honest. I have been that small to medium sized business. I have been that guy sat at home with maybe 2 to 3 staff and I need to hire another person. And my real only choice, up until I got involved in the recruitment industry that is to pay an extortionate amount of money on the premise that they have expert knowledge and the best technology, and we use all these sophisticated tools to find you the best candidate, which is the biggest load of rubbish I've ever heard in my life. Years ago, when I wanted to buy something, I'd go to a shop, I'd walk around, I'd ask someone where the item was, I'd look at it, touch, feel it, I'd then take it to a checkout, and I would pay for it, and I would deal with someone, and now I just go to Amazon and swipe. It's exactly the same principle. With recruitment, we're going to put it in the hands of the normal person. We're going to put it in the hands of the normal candidate. We're going to make technology brilliant, but very simple, just like Google did. You type in a search box and you get exactly what you're looking for. You don't realize that there's a magnitude of algorithm behind that. You don't need to know about it. We do the hard work. You take the benefit. That's it in a nutshell. Does that answer? Beautiful. Sir? Totally. Correct. Good question. So it depends what the SMB does. And it depends which market you go to first. So to give you an example, on Angel List, there's 25,000 VC-backed companies. And all of them are SMBs, and they all employ technical people. And the average salary for a technical developer in the United States is $110,000 a year. So our goal is to go for that industry first. And I'll tell you why, because IT understands crypto, finance will follow suit, so will legal. And then in the end, it will become mainstream. For the purposes of having credibility in our numbers, we use the nationally known statistics for average salaries, because you call it that way because we've got over a third of the working population registered with our site. So we feel that we have the right to kind of use the average numbers, but you're very right. Any other questions? Yeah. It's a great question. So, if you're talking about client in the form of a candidate, as in a job seeker, so digital acquisition of a candidate, yeah. So what I can tell you is, on our original aggregator model, which competed with Indeed and people like that, we averagely made $16 per active user. And that was charged on a CPC, cost per click basis. And it was basically like every time you clicked on a job, we'd charge whoever advertised it with us a cent on the click, just like you do with Google. Very normal. Now, if I revert back to the numbers that I told you about this new business model, When an average person gets a job and our fee's 3,120, and we give away the proportion to the candidate and we retain 520, it means our active user revenue is now $520. So it means we've increased the amount of money we make per user, potentially, by 30 times. And to answer your question, what's the acquisition cost? It's the same as it was when we were acquiring them and selling them for $16, but now we're making $520 out of the same person. Because instead of us supplying it to Peter, who supplies it to Paul, who supplies it to the client, and that person still gets placed, instead we go, well, we'll just deal with you directly because we've got the guy here right now. We've got everyone from Hewlett-Packard to Tesla signing up to come and use this business because they don't need to go to Monster or LinkedIn now. Because the reality is, who's the driver in the hiring process? It's the candidate. Nothing happens until someone applies. And then when they do apply, they've expressed an interest, and they go through the chain. So for us, there is no additional cost to attract a candidate to place them into a company. Now, if you're asking how much it costs us to get a client on board, i.e. the person that would use this for recruitment, are any of you familiar with McCann, the marketing agency? One of the largest in the world, Coca-Cola's marketing partner for 86 years. They're shareholders, and their CEO is going to sit on our board, and they're going to do all of our client marketing to bring on the United States and the rest of the world to use this, clients, SMBs, and your Fortune 500s, etc. So, and they're going to do it on no cost, just commission only when they sign up. So that's a nice deal, and that'll be publicly stated in some of our PR. So, but that is a good question as well. Lifetime value of a candidate. So the average candidate moves every 2 years and 3 months. So let's assume that the business is here for the next 10 years. Then I would say base plus on inflation. You could say, off the top of my head, figuring it out for you, maybe a candidate could be worth up to $2,000 of gross margin to us every time. So by placement. So attrition on candidates. So to give you an example, so rather than attrition on a candidate, I can tell you now of the 60 million that we've got, 19 million of them have been active in the last 12 months. So it gives you a rough indication of sort of churn. One of the biggest challenges you've got, and this sounds a bit morbid, when you have a database like that big and obviously that presence, people die, they retire, lots of things happen. But the reality is we think that we've got a good enough compelling product that if you told the average man in the street, based on the average salary, that the next time you look for a job you could earn $2,600 for doing the exact same behavior, you're just going to do it over here at a place called job.com, which is pretty simple to know and remember, we think we're going to have a pretty good winning formula with the business. Does that answer your question? Perfect. Go on, sir. So how are we planning to grow the token? So, the utility token has a limited supply, and it has a limited supply into an industry that's worth 600 billion a year globally. We're not going to release 600 billion worth of tokens. We're going to release, we're going to do, in our token raise, you may or may have not seen, we were in Reuters, New York Times, we're about to be in Forbes. Feel free to go on job.com and have a look. We've been in about 12 different press articles, Fox Business in the last 2 weeks. We're going to do between a 30 to 50 million token raise, and that'll be how many tokens are sort of in the market. We plan to sort of release around about 150 million tokens-ish into the market. And we're pretty confident we're going to hit our million placements, which is 3.12 billion in revenue. So that's, can figure it out. Yes, sir. No. So candidates will not be able to buy tokens. They can only ever get them as reward. And clients will not purchase tokens. They will pay us in cash, and they get converted into tokens and paid to the candidate. If you are outside the United States, where we are doing our token generation event, and we're basing it in Singapore, they're in Asia, then as a token investor, you will be able to buy into our token raise. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Perfect. 5th of March. So feel free to go to job.com, and you will see on there all of everybody involved. Some of you may or may not be familiar with Block. Matt Rozak, he was in Forbes the other day as one of the richest people in crypto. He's on our board, plus a few others. We've got some nice celebrities in there in the blockchain space who are all bought in, and then some big traditional companies as well backing us. So feel free to go on there, stay tuned, or add us on Telegram, join the groups. We can update you all on everything. Okay. Any other questions? It's been great. Okay, let's do this. Come on. I'm an Aquarius. I'm 33. Go on, sir. Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, great question. We believe, and I'm a fond believer, just in general in business, that in order to look big, you want to stand on the shoulder of giants. So we're all about partnerships. So the more partnerships we can do, the more people we can work with, the better way, the more that we can spread the message and work in a mutual beneficial way for both parties involved, we're totally open to it. Affiliates being one. Any other questions? Well, did you have a question there? Oh, I see. Okay. Anyone else? Otherwise, I will call it there, and I'd love to thank you all for your time, and I welcome any other questions that you may have afterwards. Thank you very much. The next person will be on in the next 10, 20 minutes, so please do go and have a coffee break and a restroom break, please.